You know, we really don't talk about the Mario and Luigi series enough. I know that these Mario Brothers and the Paper Mario Brothers are cut from the same material that was Super Mario RPG, but damn. People talk big talk about wanting Paper Mario to come to the Switch, and I'm not saying that I don't want that, but since Nintendo no longer has like a dedicated handheld console, I'd love to see its second most successful JRPG franchise do the same thing as Pokemon, and jump to the home console. Or I guess jump back, if you count Super Mario RPG. One of the best parts of getting Link's Awakening on Switch wasn't that it was more Link's Awakening. It's that since the N64 generation, there have essentially been two Zelda series. The handheld top-down Minish Cap series and the, 3D Ocarina of Timey ones. There's nothing really wrong with that, but the versatility of the Switch allows for both to exist and for both to cost me $60. And like, in almost the exact same way, there are two Mario RPG series. One that's primarily seen on home console and one that's been exclusively on handheld. And I don't want one to be replaced by the other because both offer two very different things. Okay, before we go any further, just so we're clear, I'm never not in favor of a game coming to the Switch. A game coming to the Switch to me is almost always a positive, especially when it was a series that was previously been exclusively handheld. Instead of like getting rid of one Mario RPG and letting the other take all of the Mario RPG credit and glory, which I imagine the more popular Paper Mario would do, even if it's moved away from, RPGing as of late, why not allow both to exist like two brothers that basically offer the same thing, but people have a weird preference over anyways. But you're like, why would I want to pay $60 for a game series that's only handheld? That doesn't really sound like something I would be into. Which, hey, I'm not going to tell you how you should spend your money, but like, there's a lot of good stuff going on in this series that really, honestly, doesn't get the credit it deserves. So often we look at the Mushroom Kingdom and the greater world of Mario as this series of strung together platforming challenges or occasionally levels based around exploration. But since there's more of a story, more dialogue, and thus more characterization in Mario and Luigi, at least compared to the platforming stuff, the world feels more open and real. Very rarely are you going to be running around Super Mario World and run into a group of Goombas that are more than just a stain on the bottom of a plumber's shoe. And before you say, these guys ain't Goombas, they're Galoombas. We called these guys Goombas too, so I don't necessarily think we know what Goombas actually are. And while Paper Mario had that for sure, it feels much more believable, I guess. The characters aren't paper thin, I mean, it helps that these brothers actually feel like brothers, with their own personalities that are as similar as they are different. Mario is cool, confident, and maybe a little sexy. And Luigi is basically me. As someone who spent a lot of his life as the little brother of my brother, Luigi being drug around on an adventure that's very much not his thing and being in the shadow of his more popular older brother hits me right in the old grease bumper. And seeing them actually act like brothers, I don't know, it's nice, There's an attention to detail here that makes not just the main brothers, but also the other characters within the story actually feel like characters, without being out of place in other parts of I guess whatever we call canon in the Mario universe. It all works in a Saturday morning cartoon sort of way, where, yeah, there probably won't be lasting consequences, but for right now it's gonna tell a unique story. Which, we kinda tend to forget the influence that classic cartoon characters like Popeye had on old Mario. I mean, there's the obvious rush job of changing out the assets of the original Donkey Kong cabinets to remove Olive Oyl Popeye and Bluto with Pauline, a proto-version of Mario, and the titular 800-pound public domain gorilla. And while a lot of that influence has been lost, forgotten, or distilled in a way that it's barely there, Mario and Luigi the RPG series really lays into it way more than I expected. Whether it's the way the brothers dance and groove like old Fleischer cartoons, or Luigi's irrational fears like Scooby-Doo, or the vaudevillian pop that comes with every hammer swing, there's something about this series that reminds me of the older cartoons from my childhood. And while a lot of that exists in Paper Mario as well, especially the vaudeville influence with its crashing, raucous stage shows, the narrative and immersion is slightly less broken in Mario and Luigi than it is in Paper Mario. I'm really seriously trying not to say one's better than the other, but I personally enjoy the tone, immersion, and aesthetic of this franchise at least slightly more. Also, damn, I know the minigame moves kind of get bad-mouthed as the series progresses, but I really enjoy how the combat works. I've had two major experiences with turn-based games outside of Mario RPGs, and those were KOTOR and Pokemon. And while both of those are excellent, the combos and combinations of real player skill feel so satisfying here. With KOTOR, I love how your character building skills are what determine how successful you are are in combat, making the actual RPGing the most important aspect. But at the same time, me getting excellent hammer whacks or pulling off super moves that required my skill and my practice to get right, even if they aren't actually that hard, is just as, if not more, satisfying to me. And there's some fucking fanfare when you get it just right too. Like, if I was good enough and quick enough, eventually I could beat this game without getting hit once. It would take years and more dedication than I'm willing to give, but hypothetically, it could happen, which isn't something you could say about most games. KOTOR and Pokemon and other RPGs almost always require that your opponents get some good swings in before you knock them down. I don't know. I'm just not necessarily someone who jumps out really hard for like JRPGs and turn-based RPGs. I've never really played a Final Fantasy. I mean, 7 has been in my backlog longer than some marriages, but there's something about cycling through a menu that doesn't appeal to me in the same way as more Western RPGs. I get that there's more physical skill involved than technical skill in something like Borderlands, but the idea of hitting a button and the fight just rolls out in front of my eyes kind of stresses me out in a weird way. It's like being in the bottom of the 9th and you're down 6 points and the up-to-bat team is about to use their big fucking sword to like whap their ball into next week, and all you can do is watch. That's not really a fair, in-depth, or even intelligible criticism of an entire genre that's been popular for longer than I've been alive, but the reason I went on this tangent and the reason I like about any Mario JRPG more than their non-Mario counterparts is how interactive it all feels. Hits actually feel like hits, and I'm an active participant almost no matter what. I mean, the original Mario RPG and Paper Mario have battle interactivity as well, with winding up hammers and whatnot, and it does feel kind of nice, but there isn't the same impact. Subtlety in combat is absolutely welcome, and Paper Mario has borrowed that from its predecessor beautifully. But there's a little bit more, chutzpah here, a little more oomph. Having scaled back combat does make things go wrong less often, so even if I am incredibly unlucky, a non-boss battle encounter is going to last maybe a minute or two tops. It simplifies the combat so it's easier to understand, like battles in Mario plus Rabbids versus the XCOM combat it borrows from. There's only a handful of things that your shot can do, and so you feel more in control with how combat is playing out. Excellent. I like that. But I also like, this. The platforming in these games are a little wonkier than they have to be, though. An isometric view of the world doesn't really help me figure out where I'm gonna land, a criticism that is equally relevant here as it would be in a review of Super Mario 3D World, but I digress. This is another thing that Mario and Luigi picked up from the old Mario RPG series, and if this got ported to the Switch, I wouldn't want it to go away, but a little more refinement would go a long way. Mario is like a really cool, diverse character, and while he's mostly known for like platforming and saving princesses, I really love seeing him and his friends trying something new. Okay, I guess not new, but something different. I mean, I welcome the new additions to the genres Mario has tried, but I don't necessarily want these to go away anytime either. These aren't held in the same regard as Mario Kart and Smash Brothers and maybe even tennis, because it's one of the only examples of non-platforming Mario that has some form of narrative and long form, I guess not storytelling, but narrative. Narrative was the word I was looking for, but I can't use it twice in the same sentence because that's just bad writing. What I'm saying and what I've been trying to say is that of the Mario RPGs and Mario franchises, this one comes up seldom in conversation. Despite doing a lot of good and being just a ton of fun. It's probably not objectively better than Paper Mario or anything, but objectivity as a discussion of art is just a collection of agreed upon subjective opinions. And honestly, that sort of hot take has no place in a video about Game Boy Advance games. Personally, as I played through Mario plus Rabbids, I found myself wishing that it was some form of more traditional turn-based RPG. Or better yet, we got that and a Mario and Luigi RPG. Or both of those and a new, actually good Paper Mario. Nothing against Mario plus Rabbids, it's clearly a passion project that is quirky, charming, and challenging as it takes Mario into another genre that doesn't make any sense but still works. But if we go the entire Switch lifespan without a single Mario and Luigi game, I'd be pretty bummed out. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I actually started writing this about the same time all of that #remaster 1000-year door thing started up, and I really thought that these games deserve to be talked about as well. If you liked what you heard, you should subscribe and maybe give one of these videos a watch as well.